Hi beautiful souls, welcome to my channel Elle's Temple. My name is Elle, I'm a goddess guide and intuitive tarot reader. Welcome back to my returning viewers. Welcome if you're new here. I'm so happy to have you all here. I hope you guys are all doing well wherever you are in the world. So today's reading is going to be all about, if you're at a crossroads, this is what you need to hear. Messages from Goddess Hekate on which path to take. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about Goddess Hekate. I do have a blog post that I put out towards the end of last year around Samhain on my blog, ellstemple.com. Check out the link. I will leave it below to Goddess Hekate. And in that blog post, I go into depth about this goddess. She is a goddess of the crossroads. She can help us to see all paths and help us to connect with which path is most aligned with us. She's like a torchbearer, a wayfarer. So whenever we feel like we are confused or we just can't see which path is going to be best, if we feel like things are really cloudy, we just can't see ahead, especially right when we're on this more intuitive journey, on a more like feminine awakening journey, or on a path to becoming like a guide or a wayfarer ourselves in particular, if we're kind of essentially creating our own path or going off, not going down a sort of more conventional path or something that is like, mapped out for us, right? If we're trying to sort of create our own map and follow our own intuition, sometimes that can be hard, right? And we can still have fears that come up and still have worries, and our mind can go into overdrive. So Goddess Hekate is a really good goddess to work with when we're facing any kind of crossroads in life, particularly regarding our path or which direction, if we're following a certain path, and we've got to a certain point where it feels like there's a bit of a split, and it's like, even though you're following your intuition and you're doing a very intuitive path anyway, you can still sort of come to these big major crossroads at certain points around like maybe how you do that work, or what sort of level you're being called to step into, what kind of role you're being called to step into. And that can be difficult, especially in the society when, there really aren't always the types of, role models around that, necessarily modeling that way of living very intuitively. Most people kind of want to see like evidence that something is going to work out right before they kind of step off the cliff and take that fool's journey. So Hekate can really support us to follow that inner light. She often makes me think of the Hermit card in tarot, where it has the figure kind of holding out the lantern, which is about connecting with that spiritual light within, even when everything is dark around the outside and you can't see your path, you can't see where you're going. Again, I will leave the blog post to her, and you can read a bit more about her. In all of my goddess posts, I go into detail about how to work with the goddess, a bit about their myth, and also ways to suggestions of rituals, and also if there's a goddess asteroid that is connected with them, which there is for Hekate. So check that out if you would like a little bit more support from this goddess. So for this reading, I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently. I'm going to be doing a tarot spread that is specifically for crossroads. So I'm going to be looking at both paths that you might feel torn between, or like you're facing, if you're at a crossroads, these two different options or two different paths. We'll take a look at the energy of each path, the pros and cons of each path, what you would need to do to take one path versus the other, and then the likely outcome of choosing one path or the other. So this is the spread that I use for myself when I've been at crossroads, and I found it really supportive. It's a little bit different with a collective reading, so as always, just take what resonates and leave the rest. But I hope it will provide you some support. I've always found Goddess Hekate a wonderful goddess to work with when I've been facing those big crossroads moments, when I felt like a bit confused about where I'm going or what direction things are going in and what's evolving for me up ahead. So to introduce the three piles, if you are drawn to this first card number 4 with the Wind Rider, and I've also got crystals to choose from today, and for you we got 2 crystals. We got a little obsidian sword here, and also this fantastic hawk's eye crystal. Hopefully you can kind of see the beautiful colors that are coming up. There we go. It's doing the like with tiger's eye, it's got that like lovely reflective, almost like an eye. So that is for pile 1. Pile 2, if you are drawn to card number 11 with the Mystic, or we've got this Labradorite sphere, it will be pile number 2. Timestamps will be in the description box below, as always. And pile number 3, if you are drawn to card number 25 with the Preserver, or this Sodalite Tower, then you will be pile number 3. Okay, my love, so pause the video if you need a little bit more time to choose which pile is most drawing you in. It is possible that there's more than one pile calling to you today, because it may be that there are messages about one path from one pile and about the other path from another one. So I'll try my best to kind of channel it so that it is about, you know, essentially the crossroads that you're specifically at for each pile. So I feel like for most of you it will just be one pile, but just trust your intuition. If you really do feel split between, if 2 cards are calling you, it may be that you have to kind of stitch your messages together from across a couple of different piles. Okay, my loves, I will see you in your reading. Highlight pile number 1, if you chose card number 4 with the Wind Rider and the Obsidian Point Crystal, or the Hawkseye Crystal, then this will be your reading on, if you're at a crossroads, this is what you need to hear. Messages from Goddess Hekate on which path to take. So in case you missed the intro, I'm going to be doing this reading a little bit differently. I'm going to start with some tarot, and we're going to be cross comparing the 2 paths. I'm going to start with tarot cards of modern goddesses for path 1, and we'll get a number of different cards across here to represent the energy of that path, the pros of the path, the cons, what you need to do to take the path, and the likely outcome of choosing that path. And then we'll use the Everyday Witch to do exactly the same underneath for path 2. So, whoops, let's get straight in. So I've already pre-shuffled the deck. Let's get into this. So it'll just be up to you guys to tune in and see which pile is representing which of the 2 different options you're kind of feeling like you're choosing between, or like what might be coming up for you. So Goddess Hekate, please give us some guidance. What is the card representing the energy? Could we get a card representing the energy of path A? A card representing the energy of path A. Could we get a card representing what's the energy of path A? What card best spread? Whoa, there we go. Okay, Page of Swords. Oh, I like it. Okay. Now, can we get a card representing the pros of taking that path? What would the pro be? What would the positives be of choosing path A? Ace of Cups. Okay. What would the cons, any potential cons or negatives for choosing Queen of Pentacles? Okay. And what would pile 1, whoop, that came out fast. The Hermit, I feel like it's that one. And that was an answer to what would you need to do to take that path, and the likely outcome if you choose this path. Queen of Swords. Oh, I like the progression from Page of Swords to Queen of Swords. Nice. Okay. Alrighty. Let's have a look. Now let's cross compare with path B, or the other option that you're feeling maybe drawn towards, or like you're choosing between. Well, that might be up ahead for you, or it might be, yeah, a bit of an evolution on what you're currently doing. Path B, or option B, the card, could we get a card representing the energy of option B or path B? Could we get a card representing the energy? Ooh, 9 of Pentacles. Okay. Alrighty. Could we get a card representing the pros of choosing the Hermit? Okay. We get a card representing the cons. 2 of Wands. Okay. What would pile 1 need to do to choose that path? What would, I feel like that one. 3 of Cups. Okay. And what would the likely outcome be of choosing, what would the likely outcome be of choosing path? Option B, 9 of Pentacles. Interesting. Ooh, okay. I'm getting quite a clear picture here. Pile 1. My feeling is that what's like the split, or what's kind of you're choosing between, what you're essentially choosing between is, I feel like between swords energy, which is the mind and intellectual curiosity and exploration and trying something different, maybe also adventure. I'm getting this particular card for this deck. Whoops, this is the representing the young goddess Artemis, who is the goddess of the hunt and goddess of exploration. She very much brings to mind like that sort of Sagittarius energy, the archer, the archetype of the archer, like kind of setting your sights on something, that kind of really expansive energy, that desire to travel or to get out in nature, to kind of be out in the world, to kind of explore, to try new things, to learn about new cultures, to travel, which is, by the way, very connected to the Wind Rider card, which is the card you chose as well, because this card talks about, this archetype is all about, you know, leaving behind something that is, you know, feeling kind of, what I'm hearing is like suppressing your soul, or kind of, I'm hearing also leaving you cold. It's kind of something, I'm hearing also leave the money on the table, which comes back to this other path, which I feel like is more related to money. So I feel like the split is choosing something that is more, perhaps unconventional, more about like kind of going off on your own, exploring, following something more unconventional, choosing where you want to go. You know, page energy is very curious, very like adaptable. It has, you know, it's that play energy, it's that inner child energy. It's like, you know, where do I want to explore? What do I want to try out? What do I want to learn about? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to travel? All of that kind of thing. Whereas this pile, I'm getting with, it's flanked by, on either end, with the card representing it, and also the likely outcome is flanked by both Pentacles cards, which are to do with like money, security, stability, finances, like, you know, tangible material things in the 3D world. So I feel like you've got a bit of a split going on between, yeah, choosing something that is more stimulating and exciting and adventurous and like going to perhaps allow you to be free and explore. So I'm kind of getting a vibe that maybe some of you, the crossroads you're at, is choosing to travel or go off on, say, a sabbatical, or leave your job behind and go traveling, or to take a gap year, for example, or to maybe move to countries as well, possibly. You know, this card talks about, I'm hearing, I need to read the description from the book. This card talks about like she leaves behind, or they leave behind their culture, which is really oppressive in ancient Greece, and goes off. So yeah, autonomy, that's a big one. Yeah, this is sort of autonomous energy here. Autonomy, authenticity, integrity, and untamedness. She rides fast and resolute as the eastern wind blows fierce on her reddened cheeks. Around her there is nothing but an endless sea of grass, above which the sky rules infinite. The Wind Rider accentuates the wild and most authentic aspects of ourselves, the side that does not hide in shadow when confronted with the expectations and judgments of others. She speaks to the confidence in one's worth and abilities, and reflects an unapologetic stance about our values and ideals. About the witch. Kaza was born in 4th century BCE. Attica, revolted by the idea of living the subdued life expected from a woman in ancient Greece. Yeah, subdued, that's a good word. I feel like this path is perhaps more subdued than this path. Like option B, the more sort of stability, security, perhaps the money path, or the more reliable path, you know, perhaps it's staying in a corporate job or in something that brings a lot more money, but it's more subdued. It would be sort of suppressing your spirit a bit, this sort of adventurous spirit that you have. So yeah, revolted by the idea of living the subdued life expected from a woman in ancient Greece, she fled east and never looked back. Her journeys took her to the lands inhabited by Scythians, where her skills allowed her to rise to the status of advisor to the tribal chief. Yeah, so maybe like this exploratory path that you set off on, it might lead you to becoming some kind of advisor, because we do have as the outcome of this path the Queen of Swords, which the Queen of Swords is someone who can be an advisor, right? They can be someone who advise people in relation to matters of, you know, making decisions. You know, Queen of Swords is that very like decisive, clear cut, you know, she can kind of see through, you know, what might be clouding someone's judgment, or, you know, where yeah, they may be struggling with something, you know, she can kind of like see very clearly, because it's interesting, there's in this card, it's like the sword is across the moon, and the moon can sometimes talk about, you know, things that are hidden, things that are subconscious, things that are buried, and it's like her sword can cut through that and like bring that to light, you know, bring clarity to situations. So it may be that like with this Wind Rider card, you need to go on a sort of period of exploration with this Page of Swords. If you decide to choose option A, that may well end up resulting in, you know, the outcome is going to be this Queen of Swords energy of really stepping into this very like strong leadership, yeah, advising type position or something like that. I feel like choosing this path of more intellectual exploration, or trying out different things, exploring different things, maybe going traveling, setting your sights higher, like going a more perhaps unconventional path. The pro that came out is the Ace of Cups, which is emotional fulfillment. I feel like it's going to bring you joy. I'm also noticing the lotuses on this card, which is all about kind of growing through, you know, lotuses grow through like literally like scummy pond stuff, right, to become these beautiful flowers on the surface. So I feel like this path, option A, will kind of allow you to like blossom and use all that perhaps difficult experiences from whether it's early childhood or going through, you know, certain things going through life. It will allow you to kind of use that to like alchemize it into wisdom and into like, yeah, clarity and knowledge that you can actually use. It's like that energy is beneficial in this path, this more exploratory path, having that gone through those experiences. It leads you to like a new beginning if you can find a way to kind of like use that experience and transmute it. It's like you can then use it to help others, to guide others, to advise others in some way, is what I'm getting. So the con that came out was the Queen of Pentacles. So I feel like this path is not the money path, really. It's not to say you won't earn money. It's not to say you can't support yourself or anything. It's just not like, maybe this is something, given the other path you're deciding between, is this Nine of Pentacles energy, which is, you know, very much about being very financially stable, very financially independent, having like, you know, a nest egg kind of there just so that you can have the holidays you want and go where you want and, you know, live a sort of bit of a life of luxury. You know, she's kind of got time to like, you know, during the day she can just read a book and drink a glass of wine. It's kind of like, you know, maybe having investments or things that kind of passive income, that type of thing. I feel like, you know, with this being in the negative, I feel like this is something that, whilst it's not to say you can't build a certain amount of stability in path one, the ultimate goal isn't going to be this Queen of Pentacles energy. Like that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it for the like the cups energy, the emotional energy, and the swords energy, the mental stimulation and excitement and curiosity and exploration that it brings you. This card was about what you need to do to take that path. So this is, yeah, Hermit energy, which I think I was talking about. Oh my gosh, I just realized I was talking about in the intro about Hekate and how she brings to mind the Hermit card in tarot, and then you've got the Hermit card, and in this deck, the tarot cards and modern goddesses, each card represents a certain goddess, and in this card it actually has Hekate. So path one is actually Hekate represented by this Hermit card, because this is the triple goddess. She's always represented with the flame, and in that triple goddess form, like past, present, future. So Hekate can see all paths, past, present, and future. She has that access to like all lifetimes, all timelines, all of that kind of thing. So let me just get to that card, because I feel like there might be a specific message. Yeah, fruitful solitude. So in order to choose this path, there needs to be some like taking time out, having some solitude. I think I said something with the Wind Rider card about not caring about other people's expectations or opinions. So there's something maybe here where maybe you've been influenced. Like path B could be perhaps more from someone else's influence maybe, and path A I feel like is more authentic to you. It's more autonomous. It brings you more autonomy. It's something that you choose. It's something that you need to like go into a period of solitude, or go like carve out some time and space where you can kind of connect within and listen to that kind of, yeah, that light from within, essentially. Yeah, see, the Hermit, Hekate. So I'm just reading to see if there's the lantern that the Hermit holds is the first light that appears in the major arcana, and it is supported by a human. It guides us to knowledge, observation, and personal growth. In the classic iconography, the Hermit is often depicted with a dog or wolf, just like Hekate, the goddess of crossroads. Young and old, she governs the magic that comes with understanding the self, that comes from full awareness. Hekate bears a torch like the Hermit with the lantern. But the guidance is, are you giving yourself the right amount of time and space to make your decision? Yeah, that's so funny. I hadn't seen that bit, and I was just talking about carving out time and space to kind of make your decision. So maybe for some of you, you've been kind of either consulting other people, or very influenced by other people, or trying to force yourself to make a snap decision about something. And it's like there's a need before you choose which path to kind of like go into this hermit mode and like, yeah, carve out some time and space to listen to yourself. What relationship do you have with solitude, and what part of your inner journey would you like to illuminate? Yeah, I love that this path, coming back to what I was saying at the beginning, it has a progression from the Page of Swords to the Queen of Swords. So I feel like this path brings you that intellectual sovereignty, or that like getting to a point of that sovereignty or self-governing, potentially leadership. You know, Queen energy can be being a leader, guiding others, advising others, being a wayfarer maybe for others as well. I'm just noticing the butterfly on her sword, which butterflies are symbolic of transformation. So maybe that's something you support people through their own transformation. She's wearing, there's a little purple energy with the purple jacket and the purple dove, is it? The purple bird of some sort on her head. And this sort of indigo energy behind, which is very like third eye and crown chakra. So I feel like this path is perhaps more of a spiritual path maybe. And this path is kind of more earthly. There's a lot of, there's a lot more earth energy, particularly because we have 2 Pentacles cards flanking, you know, so as the card representing the energy of path 2, and the card is the outcome of path two or option 2, it's very, earth fixed sign, very like, it is the more stable option, it is the more secure option, it is the more financially sound option, if you like. And there is a progression as well from the 9 of Pentacles up to the Knight of Pentacles. It's not to say that with path 2, it's not to say with path 2 that you would be necessarily not able to still do this to some extent. It's like you could still carve out some time to have that kind of a certain level of intellectual exploration and travel maybe, and, you know, spiritual, you know, connecting with yourself, connecting with your authenticity, spiritual growth, you know, things like that. I feel like you could still do that in this path, but it would be more limited. You wouldn't have as much maybe time or energy, because your main focus would be on like physical, you know, the physical world, the tangible world, the like creating material wealth, or building up your finances, building, you know, a more stable life in a way. So, you know, I mean, these are energies, and like the specific paths, because this is a collective reading, you'll all have slightly different option A's and option B's. You know, like I said, for some of you, this could be perhaps a more corporate job, but it doesn't have to be. It could be just, you know, both paths are choosing a kind of spiritual or a certain level of authenticity with both of them, but one would perhaps bring you more stability and security, and the other wouldn't bring so much of that, but it would bring you a lot more perhaps internal fulfillment, a lot more like I'm hearing like intellectual rigor and exploration, like you would have more freedom. I'm getting freedom energy a lot from, it's this wind rider energy, freedom to kind of explore, freedom to go your own way. So, you know, that could look also like, say, for example, you have chosen to, you know, maybe you already know you're meant to be some kind of guide or advisor or like a Hecate type person, a wayfarer, a way shower. And one path could be doing that in a more perhaps conventional way, in a way that, you know, say you maybe get a qualification and you would work with an institution or something like that with a certain center. Like I'm being shown, I don't know what it's called, but like a sort of like an official spiritual center like in the States, but I think it starts with E, but I can't think of the name of it. Sorry, you guys. It's like you could sort of do it under the auspices of like a formal institution, and you would get more financial stability that way. So maybe for some of you, you've been offered something like this already, to be like a guide or a counselor or you know, an advisor or something like that within a certain institution. But it's like that would bring you more money and stability and everything like that, but it maybe wouldn't bring you as much freedom, or you wouldn't be able to fully be yourself. You wouldn't be able to fully be as authentic to yourself in some way. And so there's this sort of pull between like, oh, I could take that job because it would be great, I could still do this advising work, but like, and it would bring me a lot of money, but would it really be as fulfilling, or would I have as much freedom? So there's a pull, there's sort of a split. It's coming down to really a split between stability and security and comfort, and like just total freedom, this Artemis energy of like, yay, I can just explore, I can go wherever I want, I can try what I want, I can set my sights on anything and kind of go after it. Whereas this is more comfortable, but maybe not as fulfilling necessarily. Definitely not, you wouldn't have as much independence, you wouldn't have as much autonomy, you maybe wouldn't have as much scope for personal expression. So yeah, coming down to some of these cards, just to expand on them a little bit. So the pros of path 2 is this hermit energy. You would still have the chance to follow your intuition, and you would still have the chance to, like, I'm just seeing with the owl, which is symbolic of wisdom, you would still have the chance to like connect in with that and use that in some way. That would be a positive of path B. But I don't feel like it's necessarily enough. It's not the like dominant energy that's coming through. Although you would have the opportunity to still connect in and kind of follow your spiritual practices and follow your intuition and your wisdom. Sorry, you guys, it's just, I've got the door open because it's really muggy here today. Okay, so what I'm getting is that you would still have the option, if you chose path B and chose something that was more financially stable and secure, it's like you could still do your spiritual practices, your spiritual growth, whatever it might be, listening to your intuition, listening to your inner wisdom, all of that. You could still connect with that, but I feel like this card is at night. I feel like it's almost like you might have to do it as, you know, a side gig, as like, you know, it's kind of like you moonlight as a, you know, moonlight as a singer, moonlight as a creative, moonlight as a spiritual guide, doing, you know, maybe for some of you this is like, do I kind of quit my job and do tarot readings full time, or do some kind of, yeah, like guidance where I'm guiding others in some way, or do I keep it and follow what's financially stable and secure and do it by night? And I feel like you could have you would have the option to still do that by night. It would still give you, you know, creating that like financial support for you and that foundation for you would you know, mean that like you know, you would be doing that kind of by day, and then by night you could do the sort of intuitive side of things. Maybe you have a side hustle or a side gig or something like that. Maybe it's like teaching meditation or teaching things out in nature or something along those lines. Okay. So then we have the cons card. So the Two of Wands is this creative and spiritual energy. So I feel like just like the Queen of Pentacles is a negative energy of path one, and that like you wouldn't really get to this point. I feel like also with the Two of Wands, it's like you wouldn't get to this point with path B. You wouldn't have the option to explore, to like imagine, to create, to kind of tap into that like visionary energy of like, you know, what am I trying to manifest here? What's, you know, what magical thing am I creating? Like, what am I meant to do in the world kind of thing? I'm just noticing the lizard here. So it's kind of more lizard brain energy. So it might be that like this path is perhaps something that your fear may be telling you to choose, versus like, yeah, being able to use your creative power to kind of manifest something. I'm just also noticing the red as well with the cloak. So I feel like that's linked with the root chakra, which is all about like, yeah, your survival, your stability, your security, you know, your home, your roots, all of that. So I kind of feel like that is more driving the choice of this path, perhaps. Three of Cups being here for what you'd need to do to take this path. I feel it's interesting. This card is also at night. I feel like what you would have to do if you chose this path where by day you're doing something that's more financially secure and stable and brings you the kind of wealth or investment or financial backup or whatever it is that you know, the certain level of financial comfort that you would need or material comfort that you would need. In order to take this path, you would have to find a way to find that emotional fulfillment, because we've got the Ace of Cups being here as like the pro of path one. This is the more emotionally fulfilling, the more spiritually fulfilling path. With option two, you'd have to kind of carve out that like spiritual, emotional fulfillment by night, I feel like, again. So it's like the sort of similar energy to the Hermit card as being like the pro of choosing this path would be you could still do the spiritual stuff, but it would be, you know, you'd have to kind of compress it a bit into doing it at night or in the evenings or, you know, on holidays or something like that. And maybe also doing it through a community or something, maybe with the Three of Cups here, the three women. It's interesting, we've got the Hermit card with the triple goddess, and then we've got the Three of Cups underneath it with the triple goddess as well, like the maiden, mother, and crone. Okay, so what I'm getting is to choose this path, you wouldn't be as much of a leader as if you chose path one. You would be more kind of expressing and experiencing your spiritual growth through being part of groups, through experiencing it with others, through doing it more in community. It's, you know, less of a kind of there's less of a like you stepping into a leadership role like there is with this Queen of Swords, and more of you just like experiencing it more as a source of joy and fun and like, you know, support for yourself whilst you kind of pursue the things that are like, you know, bring you the stability that you're after. It's like you would do it, that spiritual stuff kind of with perhaps friends or with other people or under, you know, by following other people. And then the outcome of choosing this path is, the Nine of Pentacles, which is a stable and secure and consistent offer that's very brings a lot of money, brings a lot of stability. This could be, you know, you might end up getting a promotion at your place of work, or where you know, if you choose to do this, say in that example I used earlier about someone still doing this sort of spiritual guidance work, but the difference is this is doing it more autonomously and choosing to do it kind of your own way versus doing it as part of a company or another institution. It's like you might end up, the outcome might be for path B is that if you chose the institution, you would, you know, potentially get some kind of offer, some kind of promotion, some kind of step up. more money, more stability, that kind of thing. So, but maybe not as much autonomy or sovereignty, or like, yeah, sort of sovereignty over your work, over how you do your work, over who you work with, things like that. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to get some oracle cards now to take a look at the guidance for path A and path B. So we get an archetype card, please, Spirit, to see what archetype would most be coming through for you for path A, I should say. What archetype would be coming through? Queen. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this for you, pile number 1 for path A. If you choose path A, we've got Queen twice with Queen of Swords as the outcome, and then Queen here as the guidance. So the light attributes are radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. So yeah, there's a sovereignty here that you have. I feel like there's a feminine sovereignty, I feel like you have this, yeah, this ability to guide others, this ability to advise others, this ability to protect others, this ability to use your sovereignty for good, to be able to kind of see what is best for people. And by really like exploring and following your heart, getting to know yourself, you know, taking this hermit time, carving out that solitude to like really connect within and grow that regal feminine side of you. I feel like choosing this path will yeah, allow you to kind of really step into this queen energy, to be very yeah, to be very in your authority, this sort of spiritual authority. I'm getting really beautiful. I'm going to put that with the Queen of Swords here. So let's get a card. What archetype is most at play, would most be at play if pile 1 chooses path 2? Ooh, interesting. Servant. Okay, yeah. I'm getting more the shadow attribute for this card. I'll read out both. The light attribute is delight in serving others with a free and loving heart. Excuse me. And the shadow attribute is using the lack of money as an excuse not to move forward with life. So I feel like choosing path B is more about saying to yourself, where there may be that internal dialogue of like, well, I need to choose this job or this career path or this, you know, stay where I am and kind of do something that is more like in my comfort zone and, you know, more financially secure, more financially stable. Like it's maybe not as emotionally fulfilling or as interesting, or it doesn't give me the option to explore and it's not as authentic to me, but it's more stable because like I can't move forward because I don't have enough money. I kind of feel like that being the guidance, that servant energy being the guidance for path B would mean that that essentially would be you sort of using that as an excuse in a way, like choosing path B because yeah, it's like you wouldn't need to move forward, you wouldn't need to grow, you wouldn't need to spiritually grow, you wouldn't need to become this queen. You could stay, you know, you could stay in this kind of like, we've got the night energy being the outcome, so it's kind of like you're still in the core, but like you don't have to fully step up into being a leader. So there may be definitely, I'm hearing like imposter syndrome. There may be some fears of leadership, of really stepping into this queen energy, this sovereign energy, this like using your authority or your guidance, or you know, being the advisor, being the leader, being the one who sets, you know, is a role model for others in some way, who uses your authority to protect others, who uses your authority to guide others. Yeah, who uses your spiritual wisdom to advise others in some way. Whereas in this part, I did kind of pick up, I think I was saying with the 3 of Cups, it's like, well, you wouldn't need to really be a leader if you chose this path as much, because you could work more just with others. You could kind of be equal and be as part of a community, and kind of if you know, are still wanting to grow spiritually, or, you know, explore, you know, spiritual interests or spiritual growth, you wouldn't have to step into that leadership. You could do it more, you know, in a group or in a community or as part of something, which there's nothing wrong with that. And that doesn't mean that like, you know, that's bad, or like you aren't going to still get any like nurturance from that. I mean, this is Three of Cups energy, this is Cups energy, so it's like you would still get that nurturance, but it's just like maybe not, I'm kind of getting that this is maybe not your destined, almost aligned path. Certainly you have free will, and you can absolutely choose whichever path is most right for you at the time. And it may be that like sometimes, right, we have to choose this path for a while and go along it for a while, and even get to this point of like getting offered, say, the promotion or a big load of money or a big load of status or something, to then be like, actually, I've been doing this for a while and it isn't really bringing me I don't feel authentic to myself anymore. And yeah, it's bringing me loads of money and status and stability and security and whatever, and lots of holidays or whatever. I'm hearing great 401k, which we don't have in the UK. I think this is an American thing. I don't really know anything about that, so I'm channeling. So this could be something that is a consideration for some of you, like going your own way and being like, I don't know, completely just stepping away from a company and doing things yourself, being a freelancer. Or like, say for example, you are something like a counselor or a therapist or something, and you've been doing it as part of like an existing organization where you're all accredited and you're part of a big group, and they bring you the clients and all that kind of thing. It's all very official, versus like going off and sort of being someone who guides others and supports others, but in a way that's more intuitive to you, maybe in a way that like you can kind of explore more and weave in different ideas of how you would do that, a bit more sort of going a bit more off-piste kind of thing. That would be more fulfilling to you, but like, yeah, it would mean you would maybe give up those benefits of like the 401k and all that kind of stuff, because you're kind of going off and doing it your own way. You might have to set up your own thing, and get clients your own way or whatever it might be. And yeah, that might be hard. That might be like, yeah, you've got to make a lot of sacrifices potentially. The Queen of Pentacles was the con for pile one, so it's like you're not, that is not the reason you would choose path one. Sorry, I keep muddling up path one and pile one. But yeah, the Queen of Pentacles was the con for path one, for this first path. And yeah, I feel like it's like you can be a queen or you can be a servant. It's kind of like that you're not going to be Queen of Pentacles, but you are going to be Queen of Swords. You are going to have that freedom, that liberation of mind, the ability to kind of like make your own decisions, the total autonomy to kind of choose what you do, to have, I'm getting like time freedom, location freedom, all of that. It's like you can choose who you want to work with and when, excuse me, like, you can choose where you want to work as well. It's that very like Artemis energy where maybe you can travel, you can have that laptop lifestyle a little bit more, you can work from different places or with different types of people or something like that. You can work at night, or say if you've got a family, it's like you can be more flexible with things like that. But yeah, it may mean you don't get the financial benefits. You have to give up certain perks that you get with like a corporate job, or with working with doing the type of work that you do with a company or something. So yeah, servant, I'm getting strongly from this, like I'm hearing salary slave. So we have the expression wage slave here in the UK, but I'm getting more like it's a salary slave. It's like you would be a servant to the company that you work for. You would have to serve their mission, their objectives, their goals. Ultimately, you wouldn't have that total autonomy that you would have with path one. So interesting. Okay, let's get some more. Let's get an energy oracle card. Can we get an energy card? What is the energy at path one? Path A, what is the energy? What is the energy, please, Spirit, of path A? Anxiety, 18 in reverse. This is interesting. Yeah, I feel like for some of you, maybe you're literally at a crossroads right now, like in this minute, you're under pressure to kind of make a decision. And you could be feeling really anxious about that. And I kind of feel like with this coming out in reverse of path A, it's like once you've chosen this path, it's kind of like when when your soul knows that you've chosen the right path, it's like it just, all the anxiety goes away because it feels right in your body, and it's like you're not staying up at night, it's not plaguing you. I had this experience recently actually where I had actually accepted something that was more path B initially, and it was keeping me up at night. I'm just noticing this like, yeah, it's nighttime, there's this kind of insomniac sort of energy, it's giving me like Nine of Swords vibes. So yeah, and then I knew because it was doing that to my body and I was feeling really anxious, I'd made the wrong decision, and I managed to backtrack because before anything had gone through. But it was like, yeah, it was a financially based decision, and it didn't give me as much like sovereignty and as much spare time and as much like yeah, it wasn't really authentic to me. So I pulled out, and then the anxiety went away. So it's so interesting that path A is showing that anxiety in reverse. I feel like maybe there might be a message in the book as well, specifically about, yeah, worry or distress in reverse. Finally, relief. The nightmare of a card reverse could mean one of two things. Either a recent problem is on its way out, causing you to feel more relaxed, or you have mastered the old habit of worry and have freed yourself from the anxiety within. Anxiety reverse is a good omen of more relaxed and peaceful times to come. Maintain a trusting attitude and let the difficulties and fear thoughts fade away into the distance. And the affirmation is, I let go of fear and worry, I assume the best and live in peace, all is well. Yeah, I feel like path A will bring you, like I said, it brings you like more emotional fulfillment, more inner fulfillment, more spiritual fulfillment. But it's going to require a trusting attitude. I feel like you will get to a point where if you follow this more autonomous, exploratory, authentic path, you will get to a point where like it causes less anxiety. It's interesting, this is there's a lot of red in this card, which is linked with the root chakra, which is all about like, you know, it's that pentacles energy of like money and stability and security and survival and all that kind of thing. So you may find that like you have, if you were to choose this path, that brings up a lot of fears and worries about survival issues or about money or am I going to be okay and things like that. But I feel like there's a need to maintain a trusting attitude and let those fear thoughts fade away, assume the best, live in peace, all is well, all will be well if you choose this path. So let me get one more, because that was kind of an interesting guidance. What is the energy? Let me get another energy card for path 1. Oh, yes, exactly. Card number 32, Daughter Spirit. Yeah, this is the spiritual path, 100%. Being a spiritual leader, spiritual teacher, advisor, guide, wayfarer, that kind of thing. Or just, you know, following, you know, even if it isn't one of those things, it's kind of following your intuition, following your spiritual guidance, following, you know, the nudges from spirit, and seeing where that takes you, following the more authentic path that's true to like your soul. That will open the door to spirit. It's like a golden door. It's really beautiful. We've got a dove here and a dove here, which I feel like doves are symbolic of peace, and this card talked about finding peace as well. So I feel like this path A, choosing the perhaps more spiritual path or more autonomous path, will bring you much more peace, like in your soul. Like you will feel calmer, even though it may bring up some fears regarding survival and money initially. I feel like if you can keep the trust, keep a trusting attitude, trust in spirit that you're being guided the right way, yeah, it will, like, you will be supported, you will be backed up. Can we get a card for, get an energy card for path B, please, spirit? Get an energy card for path B, an energy card. Daughter, personal healing and happiness. Interesting. Card number 34. Yeah, I'm kind of getting, this is interesting. I can see why you are so pulled, pile number 1. This is a difficult decision for sure. I'm getting strongly that for you, pile 1, this is more than just a split between kind of money and stability and security and a path that's perhaps more emotionally fulfilling or spiritually fulfilling. And it's kind of a split between like spirit and ego in a way, or spirit and human self, where like you've got this perhaps mission, if you like, or this like leadership, this, you know, using your authority, stepping into a position of power potentially, or a position of guidance or leadership, position where you can advise others in some way, you know, use your spiritual wisdom in some way, versus doing something that is brings you more happiness and is more like comfortable and enjoyable and happy and easier, or in your mind you've perceived it as maybe easier. It's like more personally, like kind of like what your personality would prefer. It's like there's a more, yeah, I can definitely sense the difficulty. And like I said, like, it's not to say that path B wouldn't bring you like a lot of healing and spiritual growth. Like I said, with the 3 of Cups, it's like maybe you'll do it more in community, or like you'll still get to express the spiritual side of you, but like, you know, it will have to be at night or on weekends or on holidays, or, you know, when you can carve out the time. And it doesn't mean that you won't still have spiritual growth and you won't still have, you know, healing and happiness. I feel like maybe potentially path B might bring you more happiness in a way. Like it may be, yeah, for your like earth self, for that pentacle side, for that kind of like your being a human self on the earth. It's like it's something that would, yeah, it would still bring a lot of happiness. But I'm getting a strong vibe that like your spiritual calling, you have a spiritual calling that's calling you really strongly. It's really, yeah, it's so interesting. This is very earth energy. Like you can see like the door when it opens, it like opens onto like Gaia, like earth. Like we've got these like, you know, we've got a peacock here, we've got, you know, a beautiful lake and waterfall here, and like land, and then there's all this like lush plant life. So it's like, yeah, very abundant kind of energy. You know, a rainbow, like it's like, you know, after a period of difficulty and you know, after the rain, after purging, all of that, it's like you have this rainbow that's like happy, and yeah, it's like earth energy. And then on this card, this is very ethereal. It's very like mystical, magical, like synchronistic, sparkly, but like you can't see anything physical. It's like the door opens and there's just boof, a dove, and then like all this sparkly energy. It's like you can't, I can really feel the split and why this decision is really hard, because it's like this is something you kind of sense, but you can't see it. There's no equivalent in the earth realm of this doorway, of choosing this doorway, whereas this choosing this more earthly path, this more perhaps like physical, tangible path, where it's like, well, I've been given an actual offer at this job, so like if I take it, I can see where it's going to lead, like I can see what abundance it's going to bring, versus just choosing something that's like going to bring you a lot of spiritual fulfillment. Very, very difficult. I can see, yeah, I can definitely see the struggle. Let's get one more. We have another energy card for path B. It's pile 1. Walking away, card number 27. To choose path A would mean walking away from something. I feel like path B is sort of maybe what you're doing now, or it would mean continuing on your current path, or maybe you've just been given an offer on the path that you're on, and like to choose path A would mean walking away from that. And we've got a 9 here as well with the 27, that reduces to 9, and we've got 9 of Pentacles, which is like the offer that you've been given, or the path that you're currently on, would give you a lot of stability and a lot of like comfort and ease and, yeah, financial security. And it's difficult to kind of walk away from that for sure. Let me see if there's anything in the book about this. This card shows someone walking away from an existing situation. She is closing the gate behind her and is walking away into a misty, unknown future. What was I just saying about the daughter spirit being like mystical, unknown? You can't really see if you follow your spiritual calling, you can't see where that's going yet, you know, whereas if you follow a more earthly path, it's like, oh, look, I get a rainbow and a peacock and a lake and like a, you know, maybe a big house with like my own pond and like, you know, this beautiful garden, and I can have this whole amazing life. And, you know, whereas with this path, like I may be able to still get that, but I don't know where that's gonna go. Like, ugh, anxiety. Like I can see why it feels so anxious. Yeah, she's closing the gate behind her and is walking away into a misty unknown future. This card upright reveals that it could be time for you to make a similar decision. Wow, yeah, there may be something that you're finished with, perhaps a career goal, a relationship, or a long-term experience of any kind. The familiarity of the situation may be enticing, but you're now ready to look ahead. So you're now ready to look at your options on the open road ahead. In reality, an important new beginning is at hand. This card also indicates that now would be a good time to let go of an old habit, emotional pattern, or false belief. No matter how deeply ingrained a negative pattern may be, you now have the power to release it and move on to a freer, healthier way of thinking and relating to yourself and others. Whether it's the inner or outer world, this card is telling you that you have the readiness and resources to walk away from the old and move forward now. Yeah, I feel like this is connecting with what this card was saying about using the lack of money as an excuse not to move forward with life. And then this is talking about you do have the resources to walk away from the old and move forward with life. So yeah, by choosing this path, you're kind of choosing to stay in something familiar, I feel like. So this is kind of maybe the path you've been on. And maybe you're coming to, like I said, you're coming to a decision at the moment, a crossroads where it's like, you may feel like really you're kind of done with this. And, you know, I don't feel like this never goes away, by the way. And like I said, you know, sometimes you have to kind of do this path for a while to get to a point where maybe you either get burnt out or it just gets to a stage where it's so, it's actually like uncomfortable to remain comfortable, if that makes sense. It's that a nice Nin quote about the time came when it became more uncomfortable to remain in the bud than to just bloom, or something like, I forget the exact quote, something like that. I'm getting that's coming through. So it's like you can kind of try and stay contained and in your comfort zone and in the bud, and it's playing, I wouldn't necessarily say playing small, because I still feel like even if you choose this path, you can still do a certain level of spiritual growth or work or sharing, but it isn't really in fully stepping into this queen energy or fully stepping into this power. It's kind of doing it on a smaller scale, maybe. Yeah. Okay, let's finish up with a Sacred Feminine card. So Spirit, whoa, that came out fast. Lakshmi with abundance, beautiful. For path A, I was going to ask about path A. I'm just going to leave that to one side for a second, because I hadn't kind of got very far with actually asking the question. But I feel like this is kind of saying, like, don't worry. You don't need to have anxiety about like your stability and security. You will be supported. Like, you will still get the abundance. It just, abundance can be a range of things. It may not be just financial. And maybe like everything, like spiritual, emotional, like, even mentally, like, in terms of having that autonomy, that freedom of mind, the freedom to kind of go in the direction you want. Definitely a sense of like sort of spiritual abundance that's going to come. Could we get let's ask for another one. Spirit, could we get a card, Sacred Feminine card for path A? Hummingbird Joy and Bodhisattva with Awakening. Yeah, this is definitely the more spiritual path for sure, but I feel like it's going to bring more joy with that Ace of Cups being there as the pro. It's like you're going to get the cups, you're going to feel happier. Well, you're going to feel happy as maybe, relative, but like you're gonna feel more emotionally fulfilled, more spiritually fulfilled. I feel like it's gonna bring you more joy. Got Awakening and Joy. Okay, let's get a final card for path 2, path B. Get a card for path B. Kali Ma, fierce love. Interesting. So Kali energy, she often makes me think of the Tower card in tarot, because she will often come along and cut away with her massive scythe here. She will cut away anything that is not serving us, and it is very often a certain foundation that we've been clinging to and holding on to, or a certain identity that we've been holding on to that we think we need, and it's usually more connected with our ego, because it's what our ego feels it needs to keep us safe and secure and stable and in our comfort zone. And when that is no longer serving our highest growth or the good of our soul, Kali shows up, and it's always freaking painful when Kali shows up, because I think I did a reading, in fact I think it might have been, wait, was it? No, I can't remember. It might have been on my Patreon, sorry. It might not have been on this channel that I did a Kali reading. But I feel like I have vague memories of talking about Kali and how, yeah, she will often come and it's that pull the rug from under your feet. So with Kali showing up here for path B, I feel like there could be some fierce love that might happen, where like you might still choose to follow your comfort zone, and that's fine. You have free will choice to do that for sure. But there may be a tower moment. So even though this path B, might look like a more secure or stable option initially, it might get to a certain point in your like spiritual growth or evolution where like that foundation that you've built your life on might end up being something that like spirit will kind of arrange to kind of pull out from under your feet, so that you can really follow your like destiny, or like this daughter spirit. And trust, as this card talked about, cultivate a trusting attitude that like you will still get the abundance, you will still be supported, you know, when you follow this more spiritual path, or follow the path that is authentic to you, as that card talked about and the Wind Rider card talked about. Yeah, there's definitely, I feel like you're on an awakening journey, you're on a feminine awakening journey, I feel like, pile number 1. Then you're here also to awaken others, which is why you've got that like with the Queen, the regal feminine, the benevolent authority to protect, but also to awaken others as well. Bodhisattva is an energy where they're so awakened, their presence, just by being in their presence, that helps awaken other people. And I feel like you have this energy within you. Yeah, so yeah, you may find that like you think by choosing path B it's going to be comfortable and an easy road, and somewhere along the line, and it may be for a while for sure, it may be that you're not quite ready to choose this yet, that the fears are kind of like stopping you, essentially, you know, the imposter syndrome, all of that, the fears of stepping into being an authority, being a teacher, being a leader, being a spiritual leader, being a bodhisattva, embodying that, helping to awaken others. It may be that you're just not really fully ready to embrace that path yet. And yeah, like I said, coming back to the using the lack of money as an excuse not to move forward with life, it may be that you're like, I can't yet because I need to save more, I need to get my 401k sorted, I need to get my pension sorted first, or I need to kind of put more money away, or I need to, you know, get some savings behind me, or like if I do this path, like, you know, that's all very well and good kind of awakening others, but how am I gonna put food on the table? And it's like, I feel like spirit isn't gonna leave you out in the cold. I don't feel like choosing this path that is more authentic to you is going to mean you won't have any abundance, but it'll be maybe a different type of abundance. Yes, you'll still be able to, like, you know, meet your needs, but like you'll have like an abundance of joy, an abundance of spiritual fulfillment, an abundance of inner fulfillment. Yeah, it's abundance in a more holistic way, in a broader way, in a sort of mind, body, spirit way, as opposed to like a more earthly, tangible, building up a big financial buffer is what I'm hearing. So yeah, there may be some, if you do decide to choose this path A, or you have already just chosen it, because I did kind of pick up for some of you using this more as a confirmation of something you've recently chosen or even a while ago chose. But if you've chosen this path, there may be a little bit of work to do around some fears, and trusting that you will be provided and supplied the resources that you need is what I'm getting. I think that card talked about that. The walking away card said specifically about you will get, you know, the resources that you need. You have the resources that you need. So that could be a good affirmation if you choose this path. Like, I have the resources I need to follow my spiritual gifts and calling. Because yeah, I do feel like with fierce love coming out, like there may be a bit of a rude awakening if you stay on this kind of servant path, working for someone else, being like in a position of being, yeah, like a salary slave, or working under someone, serving someone, you know. It may get cut away at some point. It may get sort of pulled away. There may be a bit of a tower moment. And I don't say that to kind of, I don't want you to feel like pushed into then choosing this path out of like a fear, but just bear in mind that like when you have a certain spiritual mission, which I do feel like on this channel, when I do a lot of these readings, I'm kind of amazed and honored and humbled really at like some of the things that come out, because the work that, and even by your comments as well, it's not even just what comes up in the reading, it's by the sort of things that you guys talk about in the comments about what you do or what you're called to do, or, you know, how your work is evolving or what you're being called to step into. It's massive stuff. It is being, you know, you are the ones who support people to awaken. You are here to awaken and guide and lead, be an authority, you know. I have a lot of you on this channel, and if that is your mission and that is your destiny, then you're not meant to be in this servile position. You're not meant to be kind of working for others. You're meant to kind of do your own thing, really. And so, and I'm just getting someone being like, yeah, I know that. So I don't really feel like this is news to any of you. I don't feel like, if it is, it may not be your pile. If you're like, what? Like, I'm not supposed to do that? Like, or if this feels like really shocking that like, oh, if I chose this path, like, you know, Kali might kind of come along and you know, pull me away from what's comfortable. Either it means you're not ready yet, and it may be that you need a bit longer on this path to kind of like build up that sort of fortitude, I guess, maybe to kind of step into this path, or this isn't your pile. Because I'm more getting the energy that this is for those of you where you are ready, but you're maybe just using an excuse. Or like you're maybe just like, yeah, spirit, I hear you. I hear that door is open, and I hear that I need to follow my calling and follow, you know, sort of go my own way, and you know, this wind rider thing, like leave the comfort zone behind, go off in search of like my spiritual path, and follow my joy, follow my bliss, listen to my intuition, but I just need a bit more money first. Like, I just need to save a bit, and that's okay. Like, maybe, you know, it's a case of asking spirit to show you a sign, or show you, you know, like give you some breadcrumbs as to like, okay, well, you know, I still do need to eat, and I still need to put food on the table. So what are my next steps? How can I follow this mission and still, you know, create enough abundance to feel stable, or whatever it might be that you need. Okay, I feel like those are all the messages that I have for you, pile number 1. I hope that resonated for you and provided a little bit of clarity or a little bit of a confirmation, especially if you have already chosen a path and you're like, oh, did I choose right? Like, is this going to be okay? Am I going the right direction, or whatever it might be? Just trust yourself. I feel like, yeah, if you've chosen this path, like, you are meant to go your own way. And coming back to this card, your 2 crystals were the obsidian sword, which I feel like this is to do with, like, it's interesting, it looks really similar to the Kalima card, like cutting away things that no longer serve. And this card is to do with, like, Hawk's Eye crystal is all about, like, you know, clarity and decision making, and you know, being able to yeah, essentially like find that independence of vision. Like it's like, you know, if you think of a hawk, hawks are also you know, the leaders of the bird world. They're kind of the, you know, they fly the highest of most birds, so it's like they get that like visionary ability, that leadership thing as well with the queen energy there. It's like they kind of, you know, they rise above, they're kind of above, they have that sort of bird's eye view, that mountain view. So yeah, hawk's eye crystal could be very supportive to help you connect in with that like strength, that leadership, that spiritual vision. You know, because the eye crystals give you that ability to kind of like see. So this might really help. And this, if you are kind of trying to work out how to, you know, walk away from something, to walk away from your comfort zone, then yeah, obsidian crystal could really help with that, to help clear your energy, help clear any attachments. And specifically the sword, you can also like use these sword crystals to go around your aura and cut ties to anything. You know, you can literally just ask that these little arrows like cut away any attachments, any energies, anything that is like holding you back, that's keeping you stuck. So yeah, both of those crystals I would highly recommend. Okay, those are all the messages I have for you, my lovely pile number ones. I hope that resonated. Drop me a comment below if it did. Hit the like button. It really supports my channel so much. I really appreciate each and every one of you who's been doing that. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already part of the community. I would love to have you here. Check out my blog on elstemple.com. I blog about the goddesses and the wheel of the year and other things like that most weeks. I also have a newsletter. If you can sign up to that on my website. I send that out once a fortnight, every new moon and full moon. I also offer private readings. You can check that out in the shop section of my website, and also Goddess Asteroid birth chart readings as well. And I also have a Patreon. I'll leave the links to all of that in the description box below if you'd like to go into more in-depth and path working readings with the goddesses over on my Patreon. I have 2 tiers available. Okay, my lovelies, all the best with your crossroads decision. I hope that you find peace and alignment, and I will see you in the next reading. All my love. Bye. Hi there, pile number 2. If you chose card number 11 with the Mystic or the Labradorite sphere, then this will be your reading on if you're at a crossroads. This is what you need to hear. Messages from Goddess Hekate on which path to take. Okay, so just to quickly give you a bit of a rundown in case you missed the intro, I'm doing this reading a little bit differently. I've got 2 different tarot decks here that I'm going to start your reading with, where I'm going to be taking a look at basically doing like a crossroad spread, where across the top with the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot, I'm going to be taking a look at path A or option A, and a card to represent the energy of that path, a card to represent the pros of taking that path, the cons of taking that path, what you'd need to do in order to choose that path, and the eventually the outcome of that path. And we'll do the same with the Wild Unknown Tarot for path B underneath, so you can sort of cross compare. So let's begin. I've already pre-shuffled the deck, so we're just going to get straight in. Let's begin. So for pile number 2, Goddess Hekate, could we get some guidance on path A? Could we get a card to represent the energy? What is the energy of path A? What is the energy? The Monarch. Okay, beautiful. Card number 4. This is the Emperor card in traditional tarot. Beautiful. Lots of butterflies here. Very powerful energy. Okay, let's get a card to represent what are the pros of choosing path A. What would the pros? I feel like that one wants to come out. 5 of Pentacles. Okay. What are the cons? What would the negatives be? The Nymph of Pentacles. Okay, which is the Page of Pentacles, I believe, in traditional tarot. Okay. Let's get a card for what would pile 1 have to do if they choose Temperance. That's that one. Okay, and finally, what would the eventual outcome? Whoa, the outcome would be the Moon. Okay. Let's see, this is all in shot. Yes, already. Okay, so let's get a card for path B. So could we get a card to represent, ooh, Four of Cups, interesting. Okay, could we get a card to represent what would the potential pros of choosing path B? That's too many. I'm just going to take the first one. Five of Swords in reverse. Okay, what would the cons be? Ooh, Nine of Swords. Okay. What would pile 1 need to do to choose path B? I'll take the top one. Two of Pentacles in reverse. And okay, and what would the eventual outcome be of choosing the Hierophant, card number 5? Okay. Interesting. Wow. Okay, sorry, pile number 1, I just had to cover up some nudity because of the YouTube guidelines, not my own. Okay, so let's just take a look at the top row to begin with. So let's just dive deep here. So the Monarch, this card, the Emperor card, this is all about stepping into your power, stepping into your authority, into leadership potentially, transforming, using your power for good. You know, I feel like this is going to involve really channeling that inner tigress energy, that kind of inner lion, that like, yeah, it's going to require a lot of strength, a lot of, certainly an evolution to step into this, which I feel like you're sort of going through already anyway, unless you really resist it, which would be if you choose path B. Yeah, I feel like it's interesting, the headdress of this. It's like really high and like quite medieval, which is really similar to this one, which kind of denotes a sort of like spiritual authority, or like kind of, you know, it's kind of like where the crown is really like elongated. It kind of makes me think of like either priestess energy, or also like some of those like ancient races from like Atlantis and things like that. They had these like really sort of elongated foreheads, or even certain star races as well. So you might identify, especially if you're drawn to the mystic, you know, right? You might identify as a mystic. You might feel like you've had many past lives, or connect with Atlantis, or be a starseed or something like that. You know, and that kind of like where you have that sort of very regal, very like spiritual authority, spiritual regality, kind of like a lot of crown chakra energy, a lot of third eye chakra energy, sort of also just the higher chakras as well, the chakras above the crown chakra, like the soul star and the galactic gateway chakras. It's like you have this like ability to kind of connect in with the higher realms. And you're meant to kind of like bring down that kind of energy and ground it into the earth. I feel like you have this, yeah, like deep mystical connection, this spiritual power, this spiritual authority. I feel like there might be another message here in the guidebook. Monarch. Yeah, this card is both elements, fire and air, the action that it takes to step into your true power in a place of authority. I was just thinking about authority. Here you are finding ways in which you can shine in society and discover your true path. So I feel like this path is sort of indicative, this row is indicative of like your true path, so to speak. Don't let anyone dampen the energy you are bringing towards your endeavors. Tap into the divine aspects of who you are. Yeah, this is like a very divinely guided path, or a very like, this is kind of your higher self, or like divinely protected. Yeah, your soul, the most soul aligned path for you, I feel like. It can indicate a great transformation of self, which, yeah, is symbolized by the butterflies. Shed the ideas of who you think you may be to embrace the greater beauty and power of your inner essence. Let go of your need to control the situation and allow it to develop organically. What drives you? What inspires you? What lights your fire? Yeah, assertiveness. I feel like this path definitely requires a certain level of assertiveness. So with the Five of Pentacles being here as a pro, I feel like this card, you know, certainly there are often many negative connotations associated with the Five of Pentacles. It can often be considered a card of scarcity and all of that. But in this case, with it being in the position of a positive, and it's interesting in this particular deck, it doesn't show two figures standing outside a church looking really poor and like desperate. In this figure, it shows one person with her eyes closed and their third eye open, and they're holding a chalice which is lit up, and there's like coins behind them with a lot of like growth symbolized by these flowers, this garland that's behind them. And I feel like this is trusting that you have unseen support. This is kind of saying that like Spirit's got your back. You can't necessarily see the kind of Pentacles energy, like the stability, security, the resources that are going to come through for you, the abundance, the growth, the material and financial support that's going to come through. But your intuition knows, like your inner essence, if you listen to your inner eye, or look at this situation with your third eye, not with like your physical earthly eyes, but like with your intuition. And if you gaze on this situation in an intuitive way, you'll come to see that really you are supported and that you are going to be able to get the support that you need. Because this card talks all about like, yeah, harnessing unseen support, harnessing and growing something from nothing as well. It's like being very resourceful, being able to like tap into forms of support that you didn't necessarily know you had. It certainly requires, again, a lot of strength. I was talking about strength with this card. So it requires a lot of strength to choose this path, to go down this path, to like step into your power. And it may not look on the outside like you have much support around you. And it may be that, like this card was talking about, don't necessarily like defer to other people or listen to other people or anything like that. It's like important to kind of stand in your power. Because like, you know, if you look around you, the evidence might not show that you have much support, but I feel like there is a lot of growth, there is a lot of abundance, there is some unseen support that is available to you that intuitively you will be able to uncover, that you'll be able to, your intuition will guide you towards it. With the Nymph of Pentacles, this is the Page of Pentacles. This is here as a con energy, or in the negative place of like a potential negative, or I don't really want to say negative really. When I say con or negative, it's more, this is the challenge, right? This is the challenge of choosing path A. This would be the challenge. And the challenge is this Page of Pentacles energy, which is like essentially kind of linking with this Five of Pentacles, what I was saying about growing something from nothing, like basically tapping into hidden resources you didn't know you had, having to be really resourceful, having to be like able to kind of grow something out of nothing. So this could be for path A, this could be like starting a community project, starting a charity, starting some kind of initiative, something like that, something that, yeah, where you're in a position of leadership, something where like you're in a position of governing this charity or this organization or this initiative, this project. It could be a business, it could be your own business. You know, and it could require that, yeah, you don't necessarily have the luxuries of like a full salary to fall back on or anything like that. You've got to be really resourceful, right, with what you've got. You've got to kind of make your dollar kind of stretch farther, or you've got to kind of like look into, like I'm hearing, grants or like funding or things like that, especially if it is like a charitable initiative or a community initiative. Because the Five of Pentacles as well, this card can talk about like accessing resources for your community and giving back, you know, like where, you know, if you've been in a position of struggle, you know, the card that follows the Five of Pentacles is like the Six of Pentacles, which is about giving back. And I feel like eventually you're going to get to that point. Like once you've kind of learned how to like overcome scarcity and adversity and difficulties, and you know, how to find your power and how to like you know, intuitively seek out the kind of resources and the support that you need. That will be a challenge for sure. This Page of Pentacles, like, you know, starting that up, starting that initiative, starting that project, starting that community, you know, benefit thing that you're doing, or you know, leading on some endeavor or something. It's like this initiative that you're starting with that page energy there, like that is challenging. That is going to be a challenge, especially if you do feel a little bit like, well, you know, I don't have many resources around me to do this. But I feel like intuitively, you know, you do. Intuitively, your higher self, your guidance will like guide you towards where there are resources for you, where there is Pentacles energy, where there is that support, there is that, you know, whether it is the right clients, the right investment opportunities, or like, you know, investors to invest in your project, or the right like resources. Like if it's like, you know, say say you're wanting to teach or something like that in somewhere where they don't have access to certain things, it's like you'll be able to find someone who, like, you know, maybe you can't buy them new, like say it's computers, for example, you can't buy them new, but like you suddenly find a business who like they're wanting to upgrade all their systems, and they've got to get rid of their old ones. So it's like a kind of a like, you know, community exchange thing. And it's like you just somehow find ways where like the universe will like guide and steer you, like your intuition will guide and steer you to like ways to kind of get this thing going, to like, so that you can step into your power, so that you can lead this thing, so that you can kind of be like kind of be in your power, essentially, to get this thing going. There's this initiating energy, which is hard. It is like, I feel like it's in the challenge position, because it is going to be a growth opportunity, I guess, which like there's a bit of a like, you know, cringe way of sort of saying like, yeah, it's going to be tough, pile number two, not gonna lie, like it's hard work, like find, you know, being in that position, you know. Whereas maybe for path B, I'm getting with the Hierophant being the outcome. Like Hierophant can talk about tradition and authority and structures, and so I think that like I think that path B would be more structured. There'd be more security. It would be more official. It would be more like, you know, more formal, more traditional. The Hierophant is about tradition, so it's maybe a more conventional or traditional way of doing things. But I definitely feel like whilst there is challenge in path A, it's not that, even though evidence may show you that it's not possible to do this, or it's going to be really difficult, it's like intuitively, and your higher self, it just keeps coming through, like your higher self knows, the universe knows, your guides know, they will guide you to the resources that you need. There's definitely a lot of overlaps between this pile and pile number one, so there may be some messages for you in pile one as well. That was also kind of about stepping into a position of leadership as well. Stepping into a position of spiritual leadership. So yeah, there's big crossovers here, but I guess the pathways were, the choices were potentially different. I feel like for this path B is more about like, it's not necessarily the most financially secure path, but it's a path that allows you to kind of play small with that kind of mouse rat energy here. It's kind of like allows you to like, kind of just not be seen, is what I'm getting. It's very black and white. It's very like clear cut. I'm sort of getting with this like Five of Swords energy being in reverse. It's interesting, you've got two fives in the position of pro. Five of Swords can be about conflict and inner conflict specifically. And with the Five of Swords being in reverse, I feel like it's like if you chose path B, it's like you would have less inner conflict around like kind of having to step into your power, because I feel like you have a lot of like resistance to that. There's a desire to kind of want to stay small, stay low down to the ground, stay unseen, to not like kind of step into like blossom and fully step into your power here. Like I'm just hearing like mystical teacher, or teacher of like mysticism, she's holding an ankh here, so yeah, teacher of like the ancient mysteries, like mystery school teachings, esoteric teachings, mystical traditions, all of that. I feel like that's something that you, with that mystic being here, that's something that you very naturally embody. I feel like moving this up intuitively, I'm kind of moving this up to here. I feel like the mystic path is this path here that would be you stepping into your power. But yeah, it is going to require a bit more resourcefulness. It is going to require, there will be a challenge in having to kind of like start, I don't know, maybe it's like start a, like I'm hearing GoFundMe. I'm not really sure what that is, but I'm guessing it's like a crowdfunding thing. So maybe for some of you, this is some kind of initiative, or it's like start a channel, start a business, start yes, it's initiating something that is going to bring you some kind of financial resources. And I feel like that might be kind of like causing some resistance for some of you, or it might feel like too big a challenge for some of you with that coming out in a kind of challenge position or negative position. This card was about what you'd have to do to choose this path, and we've got the Temperance card here, which can be about like balance and moderation. I feel like this is to do with I'm seeing that card in the Moonology deck with the balance practicality with spirituality. So I'm kind of getting that energy of like what you need to do is like in order to like fully step into this mystic role and fully step into your power with it, it may be that the challenge is that you still need to kind of find some kind of way to financially support yourself or make this work, or like bring some kind of income in, or bring some kind of funding in, or something, whatever this role is, whatever this path really looks like for you. And so there's going to be a need to kind of like, yeah, balance that like intuitive, mystical, like ethereal kind of super connected kind of energy that you have, or talent or gifts that you have, with the physical realm, and actually like manifesting and bringing things into reality, and like you know, being able to support yourself, being able to make this project work, sort of on, you know, on the earth level, in the material realm. I feel like there may be a message in here as well from Temperance. Let me just have a look. I love this guidebook. It's like the guidance is quite different from traditional tarot, so sometimes it's nice just to get the messages are like really beautiful. Yeah, this card asks us to figure out what we give back to the world, where we can grow and share our radiance. This is alchemy, or the path to our highest self from the world of dreams, where time stops and we begin to bend elements to our will through intention and practice. The threading between thought and emotion balances our true reality. Traveling to the spiritual plane and returning with wisdom to be shared as our earthly mission. Yeah, I think I said something about that with the Monarch card. I can't remember now, but anyway, yeah, you're meant to like bring spiritual wisdom down to the earthly plane for sure. So you may feel indecisive or ungrounded, but trust in your path and that this is a time of magic leading to true enlightenment. And the keywords are balance, purpose, alchemy, and self-control. Yeah, definitely. And then the outcome of this card, the ultimate outcome, of this path is the moon, which I feel like is kind of spirit sort of drawing a veil over it. It's almost like you can't really see what the outcome is, because the moon is all about like, you know, things that are hidden, things that could be like, you know, they might seem a certain way under moonlight, like during a full moon, things can be like illuminated and seem kind of more magnified. And more scary, right? It can bring up fears. So I feel like this is kind of saying like, yeah, this path is going to be more challenging. It might bring up a lot of fears. It might bring up, a lot of fears of being seen, I feel like. Because there's something about like illumination, like you coming into illumination, you coming into being seen. Like this is very much like the split, or path A versus path B, is this path is you being seen in some way, like you stepping into your spiritual power, stepping into leadership, being seen, being comfortable being seen, being comfortable being a guide as well. Yeah, it might definitely bring up, you know, it can talk about the subconscious. It might bring up some subconscious fears. And I feel like also, you know, this was also similar with path number 1, which it might be interesting to see in a moment when I get the oracle cards, what cards come out for you, because I feel like this is the path that is like the more unknown path. This is the path, like I said, you know, this path B is the more traditional path. It's the formal, like it's an institution, it's going a more traditional route. Whereas this is really unknown. This is like, you can't really see it's much more intuitive. The moon can talk about intuition, you know, it's governed by Cancer. It's linked to like the feminine, the goddess, the mother, the feeling side, the emotional side. You know, this woman's pictured here, or this figure's pictured here in water. So it's like this path I feel like is ultimately like more feminine. It's more intuitive led. It's more emotionally led. It's more, yeah, I mean, if you think of like the moon versus the sun, like the sun or the solar influence being the masculine, and the moon, the yin influence being the feminine, it's kind of like this path is the more feminine, more intuitive led path, I feel like, which, you know, we had here with the Five of Pentacles, with a figure with, you know, her third eye wide open. So it's like that is the positive about this path, is like you would be following your intuition. Oops. So coming down to path B, yeah, I feel like I said, path B is easier. You get to play small. It's more clear cut. It's more black and white. This could be like a corporate job, or it could just be still doing the same kind of stuff, but on a smaller scale. Maybe doing it also where like the Hierophant can speak about learning and institutions of learning. So maybe this path is more like you just keep learning about, you know, mystical subjects and studying them and training in them. Whatever it is, whatever the specific is, and it'll be different for all of you. But this Four of Cups energy is kind of like ignoring the spiritual calling, because in the traditional or in most decks with the Four of Cups, it shows like a hand coming from like the clouds, kind of offering a new opportunity, a new emotionally fulfilling opportunity. And then there's a figure sitting down after all the celebration of the Three of Cups, and they're kind of like, ugh, I can't, like, just, and they're not even looking. They're like, just like, go away. I've seen enough, I've done enough. It can be an energy of like deflation and like kind of just apathy. I'm hearing like a kind of just like, I don't want to engage with that. I don't really want to drink of that cup. I've had enough, sort of thing. It's like I'm going my own way. I'm going where I want to go. I'm not gonna follow my calling. I'm not gonna follow my emotions. I'm not going to follow my intuition. Like, I don't want to go this feminine way. I want to do something that's like black and white and clear cut and conventional and like traditional, or like something that causes me less in a conflict, with that Five of Swords being here as this was the pro energy. So with it being in reverse, it's like I don't want the inner conflict that comes from like trying to pursue a more unconventional path, like, or it might be I don't want the conflict from others. Like, this is kind of like, if I play small, like I won't have to be in a position of power, and I won't get like pushback from others, or I won't get like I'm hearing tall poppy syndrome. We have this thing in New Zealand called tall poppy syndrome. New Zealand's where I grew up. I live in the UK now, but I've talked about this before on my channel, and I think someone in Canada wrote a comment saying that they had a similar thing. It's kind of where like if you grow too tall above the parapet, like your head will get cut off, like the head of the poppy will get cut off. It's like tall poppy syndrome. And so there's this thing in the collective consciousness of like, stay down, like stay small, like don't be seen, don't put yourself out there, like, you know, be one of the guys, be one of the gang, like just kind of be the same as everyone else. You know, it's very sort of like egalitarian. And whilst that has its positives, the shadow is that no one really gets to shine if there's that energy of like, we've got to cut someone down to size if their like ego gets too big. But here we're not really talking about ego. This is about stepping into like your soul power, your soul purpose, you know, your mission, your strength, you know, all of that, you know, being a leader, being a mystical teacher, or sharing, you know, you're bringing that wisdom, like the Temperance card was talking about, bringing that wisdom down to the earthly plane, like being an authority on like esoteric or mystical subjects, and bringing the wisdom that you have a direct connection with down onto earth. And like, I feel like the fear is that if I do that, like people will like try and cut me down to size. They'll be like, who are you path number 2 to like speak about such subjects, like what do you know, or like who are you to kind of step outside the parapet, to step outside the group and kind of like be this leader. Like, you're not a leader, you're just the same as everyone else. And so there might be a bit of cultural conditioning going on, or childhood conditioning going on, that may be like causing some conflict, or you fear that if you were to choose this path, that would like bring up that conflict. Like, you might get pushback from other people, whether it's from your family or people in your hometown or something like that, or just even from within, from those conditioned parts of yourself. So there's a desire with path B to like avoid the conflict, which is why it's in reverse. It's like, no, I don't want to deal with that. So that would be the pro, you know, that would be the positive. If you choose to not step into your power, to not be seen, to not kind of like step into this calling towards bringing this wisdom down to earth, it's like you would potentially avoid that conflict that may bring up either within you or potentially from other people. With the negative for path 2, we've got the 9 of Swords here, and this quite extreme kind of death situation going on with worms and all sorts kind of growing out of this thing. Yeah. This is, I mean, the 9 of Swords traditionally is like, you know, the insomnia card. You know, usually in the traditional Rider-Waite, it shows a figure sitting up in bed looking really anxious and distressed, and it's like, you know, running thoughts and anxiety and fears and all of that. But this card, I'm just getting this sort of death energy. It's almost more like the 10 of Swords, even though it is the 9 of Swords. And decay, I'm getting kind of decay. It's like, you know, when worms and, you know, like the process of something breaking down, like, you know, as something's kind of dying, you know, it gets like infiltrated by all the like bugs and worms and things. So there's this energy of like, I sort of feel like path B, playing it small, not following like the calling that you're getting, not following the cup that's kind of being offered to you by spirit, the cup that's here, would lead to a certain amount of feeling thwarted, is what I'm hearing, and spiritually, like your soul would feel like it's dying. Gosh, that's really extreme. I'm sorry about too. This is what I'm channeling though. It's like your soul just it's just very bleak. It's just very bleak. It's very gray. It's very black and white. I think it would cause you to ultimately like, yeah, just feel very thwarted is what I'm getting. I just keep getting the word thwarted. You would feel very thwarted. Choose staying on this, either staying on this path if you're on this now, or choosing this path if you choose to, like, you know, this could be that you've started stepping into your power and, you know, you're finding the challenge of like, you know, resources and all of that, and kind of, you know, doing that work of bringing wisdom down to the earthly plane. And it is tough work. I know, because I do it, so, and I know how hard it is, and I know how hard it is to find the balance between the practicality and the spirituality, and still needing to put food on the table and pay your rent and bills, especially in, you know, a sort of more or less global recession, although I don't think it's officially a recession, but it feels like a recession because everything's gone up. So like, you know, maybe you have chosen to start, you know, stepping into your spiritual power and kind of being this mystic, or this you know, this in this role, but you're kind of now at a crossroads where you're like, should I keep going with this, because it's really difficult, it's really challenging, and I'm not getting the money, or I'm not getting the resources that I need, or something. And it's like, it would be easier to follow this other more traditional path, and I wouldn't get so much pushback from others, and I wouldn't feel so challenged all the time, but it would be very thwarting to my soul. It would be very, and it would cause you a lot of anxiety, I feel like, or a lot of like, I'm hearing like going back on your decision is something that will cause like pain to your soul. Wow. Yeah, I just, it's very similar to pile one in that like I feel like you're very destined to do this path. You're very, this is kind of your mission, and this is your mission if you choose to accept it. But I feel like it's almost like your soul doesn't really have a choice. And it's interesting because pile one, towards the end of the reading, I got this split between kind of their ego self wanting kind of comfort and like more earthly things and stability and like kind of a certain level of like status, and yes, it was stability and security were kind of the main things, versus kind of being like following their spiritual path, their spiritual mission, being kind of a teacher, a guide, a lead. There was sort of leadership energy coming through for pile one as well. But the difference was that like I don't feel like it's as much there might be worries about finances, but I feel like that's less of the split, or less of where you're seeing two distinct pathways. And it's more like one is where you're stepping into your power, and one is where you're playing small, or staying small either. But I feel like for most of you, and you could be similar to pile one, I felt like many of pile one had already chosen this path, and you're using this reading more as a confirmation than as a like you're actually still approaching a crossroads and being like, oh, which do I choose? It's like you've chosen, but you're kind of checking back in on yourself and being like, did I choose the right path, and is this going to be okay? I'm kind of getting that a little bit from you, pile two, as well. It's like there's no turning back. I feel like you have already chosen, but it's just trusting that like intuitively you'll be guided to the right resources. I'm feeling called to read this Nymph of Pentacles energy. It's interesting. Sorry, pile two. I realize I'm going back and forth and mixing up path one and path two a lot. That could be because maybe this is a little bit like the energy of what has been going on for you, where you've started on this path, and then every now and again you're like, oh, maybe I should go back to this, and then it's like, nope, I've got some more resources through, or like you find some support, you find some funding from somewhere, or some more clients come through, and then it's like, oh no, this is great, I should do this, I'm going to keep doing this, and then it kind of goes back to like you know, you get some criticism from somewhere, or like you know, some pushback from family, or from, you know, conditioning, or something around you being like, oh, who are you to be this, or something, who are you to step into your power, and if you go back to being like, oh, I should just be the same as everyone else, why can't I just be comfortable being in this, like in a kind of a regular job or something like that. So yeah, you might be, this crossroads could be a continuous navigation for you, a continuous meeting point, until eventually you kind of step into this monarch energy and just fully embrace your like spiritual destiny, and you're like, nope, I'm on this path, I'm not looking back, this is it. And it's not to say you won't have moments of doubt, but it's like there'll be less of this like push pull, like maybe I should go back to this, and maybe even times where you've had to go back and forth as well, which is also normal. And I've had that in my journey towards like stepping into doing this spiritual work more or less full time. There's been times over the years where like I've started doing stuff, and then I've had to pull back and do more like kind of earthly things, both because of this, you know, the fears and the kind of desire to then play small and not to be seen, and not wanting to step into my power. So I really resonate with this pile a lot, but also because of pile one stuff, because of like financial necessity. I've had to go back to sort of jobs for a bit, or like increase my hours at my job and sort of decrease how much I do this sort of stuff, and like it's been a constant balancing. That's that balancing energy, balance practicality with spirituality. So it might be that for a while you have to do both. You have to cross straddle both these paths for a bit, where you're sort of doing one thing that kind of maybe puts the bread on the table and is for a more traditional job, or for a more like structured kind of position. and it's more reliable and stable. Whilst you kind of start this with that Page of Pentacles energy, it's like you initiate this and get it going, get it growing. So yeah, which brings me back to, sorry, going off on little tangents here. Okay. The nymph is at the beginning of a new relationship or experience with earthly affairs, finances, home, security, career. She is someone in an alien place, but trusts herself to manifest. Jupiter is the guru, the teacher planet, who reminds us of our spiritual path and greater consciousness. As you venture into unknown places to birth a project or business, yes, I was saying about that. So yeah, this could be a business. This could be turning this spiritual, mystical work into a business, into some kind of initiative, a project. Be sure to stay in alignment with your higher self and the greater good. Things may not appear as we expect, so be open to what gets called into your sphere. Be specific with your intentions and be open to receiving, or else you will miss valuable opportunities because your standards and expectations were too specific. Allow yourself to feel your energy and spread your blanket of luck. And the keywords are manifestation, financial, business, opportunity, trust, and intention. Yeah, so trust, I feel like, is a big one. That was also a big one with part 1 as well. Trusting. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out on the oracle cards, which I will get to in a moment. Let's just finish this off for path 2, but I think you can see where this is going. So this is the card that would be what you would have to do to choose path B, which is like to give up kind of juggling both, I guess, which I feel like is sort of maybe something that, you know, you're kind of at the moment doing a bit of both. You're sort of both working for an organization and trying to start your own business or project or initiative, or go on this more spiritual path. It's like there's a juggling that's happening. But if you just chose, if you were like, okay, you know what, screw this, it's too hard, I don't have the resources I need, or, you know, I can't balance both things, I need to just choose the mundane, the earthly stuff right now, it's like what you would have to do is just give up juggling, and it would be as simple as that. Give up the conflict. Like, you know, it's interesting, this card shows like we've got this sort of duality in this one with the 2 halves of the worm and then the 2 halves of the butterfly. So I feel like there is definitely an inner pull and inner conflict between the sort of the higher self and the lower self, or the higher self and the kind of earth self. And then we talked about the Hierophant card being, you know, what's traditional, what's known, you know, the more conventional route, maybe the more, you know, that this raven is sitting on a key, which is like, you know, that's, I feel like it's like you have the key to this path already. It's like you have access to that. It's doable, essentially. Whereas this is very like esoteric, very intuitive, very feminine, very like feelings based. You have to kind of like intuitively guide yourself and kind of figure out how to make this work. It's not traditional, it's not corporate, it's not a structure, it's not like a ladder that you climb kind of thing, or like a set path. So let's get some oracle cards now to get a little bit more guidance. So we get an energy oracle card for path A. We get an energy, here we go, angel strength. Yeah, wow, we've got a tiger here and a lion here, and I spoke about strength with that monarch card. So yeah, path A is going to require a lot of strength, but I also feel like you're very protected with this angel being here with these huge wings. We've also got the number 50, which is the number 5 essentially in numerology, which is about change and transformation, which we spoke about with the butterflies. So it is going to require a bit of, yeah, a lot of strength, a lot of transformation, a lot of power and courage. We get an energy oracle card for path B. Could we get an energy oracle card? Wow, hostilities. Look at that. And I was just speaking about conflict with the 5 of Swords. Yeah. Except I feel like path B is going to bring up like conflict within yourself. If you chose path B, it's like you wouldn't be able to rest because your soul would be kind of calling you back onto path A. Yeah. I'm just noticing the autumn leaves in the background as well, which is symbolic of like letting go, release. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like path B would be something that would bring up a lot of inner conflict within yourself. Let's get a green witch oracle card. We get a card for path A. We get a card for path A. Well, that's a lot. Continuance, yeah, Capricorn energy. That's the mountain goat energy. I feel like this is something you started on. This is a project or a business or an initiative, a path that you've already started, or you're in the process of starting with that nymph of pentacles energy. You're in the process of initiating it. And it's saying continue on that path. There's that continuance energy. You know, Capricorn energy is like, you know, it's an earth sign. It's an energy of perseverance and sticking to, you know, it's like climbing up that mountain. It's going to be a long struggle, a difficult path. This is the ascension path. It isn't easy. There's no way to kind of beat about the bush or like gloss over that. It is going to be tough, but like you are supported, you are protected, there are resources available to you. You do have all the skills and the strength that is needed to do this path. You have the perseverance and the motivation to do this, and the work ethic and everything that you need to follow this path, this passion, follow these gifts, to bring that mystical wisdom or that intuitive wisdom, that spiritual wisdom down onto the earth. Yeah. I feel like for most of you, you've chosen already. Even if you haven't physically put anything into, like say you have made the decision really within to start your business, but you might not have done anything on the earth plane yet to like, you know, bring that about, like kind of registered the business or anything, or, you know, bought the domain name or anything yet, but you kind of know, you know where you're going, you know that this is what you're starting, or you may have started it already and just be, like I said, using this as confirmation. So we get a Green Witch card for path B. Healing, but in reverse, I feel like. Aries energy. Yeah, this is like the reversal of Aries energy is like going back on what you've initiated. And it wouldn't be, it wouldn't bring you the healing that you need. Interesting. Oh, I didn't do that. I was going to do the archetypes card. Can we get an archetypes card for path one? Path one. What is the archetype? Trickster. Yeah, transcending convention and tradition and like the conventional path, transcending convention, stuffiness and predictable behavior. And we've got this little like magician energy with the purple being linked to like the third eye, the center of intuition, on the crown chakra, spiritual center. And the shadow attribute is manipulating others through duplicity, but don't worry about that. This is you like, doing something more, doing something different, doing something that like is not, you know, it's like you're transcending convention, you're transcending the conventional path, the predictable path, the known path, the like more perhaps logical path, to follow the unknown, to follow your intuition. What archetype would be coming through for path B? What archetype would pile? Lover in reverse. Great passion and devotion, unbridled appreciation of someone or something. Shadow attributes, obsessive passion that harms others, self-destructive devotion. I wouldn't worry about too much about the specific light and shadow attributes. What I'm getting more is that like this is not something that you would love. Choosing the path that keeps you small and keeps you, that is more conventional, the like predictable path essentially, the conventional path, the traditional path is not something that you're going to love. It's like love in reverse. You're just not going to embrace it. It's going to bring up a lot of conflict within you, because your soul is so strong. Your soul calling is so strong. Your soul gifts are so strong, and they're meant to be, with that like Temperance card, you're meant to bring that wisdom down onto the earth. You're meant to transcend this sort of, you know, that kind of small town mentality, that kind of like tall poppy syndrome, like don't stand out from the crowd, don't do something different, you know, don't like follow your intuition. It's like you're meant to transcend all of that. Let's finish up with a Sacred Feminine card. I get one more card for Path A. A Sacred Feminine card for Path A. We've got two actually. Maiden with innocence and Mother with nurturing. What's interesting, oh, we've got another. It's interesting that I spoke about the Mother with the Moon. That's the feminine energy. I feel like this is very like kind of goddess energy. Yeah. And Maiden innocence. There's a lot of red here with the red apple and the red behind the red background with the Maiden innocence card. This is reminding me of like the Fool card in tarot, like kind of just, you know, stepping off that cliff, like following that Fool's journey, kind of like going into the path that's unknown, running towards it with open arms. You know, her eyes are closed, like she can't really see where she's going. That is that energy of the Fool. They can't really see where they're going, but they're just trusting that where their intuition is leading them. They're trusting where the goddess is leading them, where the Divine Mother, you know, with the moon, that intuition, that where their feelings, their feminine energy is leading them. And path 2, could we have a card for path 2? Option 2. If path 2 was to choose path 2, dolphin embodiment. Well, what I'm kind of getting from this, it came out in reverse, and I feel called to keep it in reverse, is essentially I'm getting like it wouldn't be an embodiment of who you truly are or of your truth to kind of choose the more, you know, traditional path or conventional path, or to play it small in that way. It's like you wouldn't really be embodying the truth of your spirit. Yeah. Interesting. Do I feel called to read from the guidebook? I think so. Embodiment. Shadow is disconnection. Yeah, so in the reversal, in the shadow, the embodiment energy is disconnection. So yeah, path B would be, path A is like you being spiritually connected, following your spiritual guidance, bringing spiritual wisdom down with that Temperance card, you know, being in your power, maybe going into business or, you know, in leadership in some way. Yeah, following that, the feminine path, following the moon path, the lunar ways, you know. And path B is like disconnecting from all of that, disconnecting from your intuition, disconnecting from your intuitive guidance, disconnecting from the feminine way, following a more traditional, perhaps masculine or patriarchal or more expected way, a more expected path, a more a known path, as opposed to like an esoteric path, like a yeah, something that's more known. Yeah, it's like talking about welcoming the flow of spirit into your physical body. As you open to layers of embodiment, energy that has been constricted may surface to be healed. Proceed slowly and know that emotions can move through you like waves, arising, expressing, and receding. Allow yourself to inhabit this ebb and flow, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. To feel the buoyancy of unadulterated joy, you must also be able to experience the gravitas of pain. Friend to those stranded at sea, dolphin ensures you will not get lost in this vast ocean of feeling. How will you be saved? Breath. So yeah, I feel like, you know, choosing, like coming back to the moon, that is that ebb and flow energy, you know. And you think of the cycles of the moon and how the moon controls the oceans and the ebb and flow of the tides and all of that. So yeah, you know, following path A is like listening to that, you know, listening to your feelings, listening to your intuition, allowing yourself to go through the ebb and flow, finding that balance. You know, the temperance energy as well can be balancing, not just balancing the spiritual and earthly, or the spiritual and practical, but also the masculine and the feminine as well. Okay, I feel like those are the messages. Maybe there's something about maiden, archetypal feminine, innocence. How do we become who we are in the world? We ask the world to teach us, but we have to ask with an open heart, with no idea what the answer will be. Maiden's hours dawn in her season spring, symbolizing eternal possibility and growth. Drawing Maiden conjures a youthful phase of your life when all kinds of becoming are in play. Maiden portends blossoming. Her reflection is the waxing moon moving towards fullness. Exactly. That was the outcome of your, in the tarot, of the outcome of choosing this path is this like full moon energy. The moon in her fullness, coming into that, like, yeah, the full sort of mother energy. I hate that I have to cover that up, but anyway, YouTube rules. She embodies innocence, self-confidence, and independence. With Maiden in your hand, it's time to dive into an uncorrupted, virginal aspect of yourself. As you embark on this voyage of discovery, your assignment is to explore with abandon. Maiden is unburdened by preconceptions, opinions, and set ways, so similar to the trickster energy, transcending convention, stuffiness, and predictable behavior. This is exactly that. Unburdened by preconceptions, opinions, and set ways. Eager to learn, she is comfortable with what she doesn't know. When Maiden appears, it's time to enjoy the freshness of beginner's mind, an attitude of openness coupled with innocence. Whatever wild and holy reconnaissance mission excites your spirit, embrace the new life it brings. It's funny, it's always about mission. I was talking about, I think I was joking about your mission if you choose to accept it earlier. So yeah, there's definitely a mission that excites your spirit. Virgin, often used interchangeably with maiden, comes from the Greek word for one and to herself. As the non-relational aspect of the feminine in all her glory, she stands her own ground, free of enmeshment, and pleases herself above all. She follows her inner drive toward developing the unique gifts that are her birthright. Maiden invites you to step out of the idea that anyone completes you and to reimagine your own self-completion. Follow your own values, reach for the sacrosanct places inside yourself, and be immersed in a love deeper even than romantic love, devout and pure. As Maiden verges on the transition from innocence to experience, endeavor to keep your wonder and your integrity. Don't protect yourself from experience through some misguided idea of self-preservation. Inhibition lurks in purity's shadow. A card of passage and initiation, Maiden reflects to you that well begun is half done. Anything undertaken with joy will make completion effortless. Yeah, I feel like there is something you've begun, and it's saying to continue whatever this like that full energy, whatever you've initiated or stepped into. It's like continue with that. You're halfway, like just taking that first step, taking that first leap of faith was like the half of it, and so just keep going. Even though there might be a desire to sometimes fall back into a path that may seem easier and seem more cut out and like black and white, it just won't bring you, it won't bring you the spiritual fulfillment or the emotional fulfillment or it's like you might be able to convince yourself that it's okay for a time, but like you just won't love it. Whereas this path, I feel like you will love. It's like following your passion, following your bliss, following what lights you up. So yeah, I feel like those are all the messages I have for you, pile number 2. All the best with your journey, with your deliberation, with this decision, with this crossroads that you're at. I hope you found some confirmation or guidance from this reading. If you did, if it supported you in some way, please leave me a comment or even just drop an emoji in the comments box below, or hit the like button. It really helps my channel to grow so much, and I really appreciate each and every one of you who's been doing that. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already part of my community. I would love to have you here. Check out my blog. I blog about the goddesses and the wheel of the year and other holistic things over on elstemple.com. And I also have a fortnightly newsletter every new and full moon where I blog about the cosmic, all the cosmic stuff, all the cosmic goddesses. Sorry, my brain is like, because I'm coming to the end of my channeling. And I have a Patreon where I do in-depth goddess path working and readings. Check out the link to that below. And I think that's it. I also offer private readings and goddess asteroid birth chart readings as well. So check out my website. All the links to that are in the description box below. All the best with your crossroads, and I will see you in the next reading. All my love.